Sophie, thanks for joining us here today for TV podcast. So first of all, before we talk about your basketball exploits, you're from Leeds like myself.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about life growing up in Leeds, kind of where you went to school?
Lived in Leeds all my life. Actually went to school in Wakefield. I'm kind of living on the border of Leeds and Wakefield. Spent all my life at school in Wakefield. I went to Wakefield Girls High School. I loved it there. I love it in Leeds. It's a great city, and I think it promotes sport as well massively. So.
And talk about sport. Did you do any sports growing up? What were you into?
At school, sport was encouraged from a really young age. So I played everything that I could really. I've got a really sporty family. My dad was a professional golfer, and my granddad's been various things and is always involved with sport. So I was always brought up to be sporty. Netball was my main sport, but then I played tennis, hockey, did a bit of athletics as well. So sport was everything that I did in my spare time.
Did you play for the school teams, presumably?
Yeah, school teams, we went to national finals. I went every year that I played, so whether that was under 14s, under 16s, under 18s. So that was for netball and hockey. And then I played for club teams as well for netball.
Outside of sports, what did you do? What do you still do outside of the sporting arena?
I guess I like to hang out with my friends, go out.
Just the usual.
The usual.
Without getting yourself So let's talk about, obviously, is it 2010 that you had your accident?
Yeah.
So do you want to just tell us a bit lead up to kind of how that occurred?
Yeah, I've got family that live in America, and I'd visited them numerous times before the accident actually happened. Just another summer holiday that I thought was going on. Went out to America. 3 days into the holiday, was involved in the car crash. We'd been just at this girl's house, and we were just driving away from there and going to get some food, any normal day, it was an accident, when the driver was obviously driving too quickly and just went straight into a tree. Loads of stuff happened, I was really badly injured, I didn't even have a pulse when they found me. Obviously in the car, rushed to hospital, had life-saving surgery. A lot of my organs have been damaged or replaced or changed or taken out, So to be fair, the whole spinal cord injury and breaking my back wasn't even an issue for me to begin with. That was kind of the secondary problem. It was the fact that I just had to survive for the first month. I was in a critical care unit still out in America, and I couldn't even eat, I wasn't sleeping or anything. I was throwing up every 5 minutes, and even if I smelt food I'd throw up. So that was just that first initial struggle, was just to get through that. And then obviously came the whole thing about not being able to walk again, which I didn't even care about at the time, and I think that's helped me to stay strong through it all, because it wasn't my initial worry.
So whereabouts, which hospital were you located in?
I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was in, the first hospital that I was in was the University of Cincinnati Hospital, and then that was for a month, and then for another month I went to a rehab hospital. It was a children's hospital, and those two hospitals are renowned for being amazing hospitals, and I know that if I wasn't there and if I wasn't seen by those doctors, I wouldn't be here today. They saved my life.
So how long was it since the accident to when you were able to leave hospital? How long were you in America for?
America for 2 months, because I wasn't allowed to fly because I'd had punctured lungs, so obviously the air pressure was burst my lungs or something. I had to stay out there for 2 months. Came back to England, and I just thought I'd be in hospital for maybe a week, and they'd just keep an eye on me, and then I'd be able to go home. I really didn't think I was as bad as I actually was. And so I had to stay in hospital for 2.5 months in England, and then I was discharged December the 17th, just before Christmas. So obviously did not want to spend Christmas in hospital, so that was good.
So how old were you when
16.
16.
Yeah.
So how as a 16-year-old did you cope with that transition? Obviously, family will have been in America. Did you have any contact with your friends at all back in the UK during that time?
Yeah. Well, it was really tough. Like, I'd actually gone out to America by myself because obviously I've got family who live there, so I was just visiting them, and my mum and dad and brother were both still at home, so they obviously got this phone call. And my mum didn't actually answer it, and she, my auntie left a voicemail and was like, "Gillian, you've got to ring us back really quickly. You've got to ring us back, like it's urgent." And my mum was thinking, "Oh God, what's Sophie done now? Like, what trouble has she got herself into?" And then obviously when she actually rung back, she found out I was, critically ill. So I talked to loads of my friends whilst I was out there. Obviously for the first couple of weeks, like, I was in an induced coma, so my dad kind of took over my Facebook and like was writing statuses and things about like how I was doing, and but then obviously when I'd come round and I was able to like even type, like, so I spoke to like my best friends and like made the decision that I had to tell them like that I was coming home, like not a different person, because I was always going to be the same person, but I wasn't going to be walking. And like, I hadn't even got my head around that myself yet, so actually writing that down probably helped me in the whole process of like getting over what had happened. So yeah, and my friends have been amazing back home. Like, I've got such a good like network of friends around me, and support, and family have been amazing, so that is so important to getting through something that is so tragic that happens to you.
In terms of the exercises you're doing in rehab, obviously a lot of upper body work, but what was the process of getting you back on out of hospital?
I think when I was in America, like the care out there is just so different to what it's like here, because you're paying for it, so you're treated more like a customer rather than like a patient. So you get like one-on-one care. I was getting like 4 hours of physio a day, and obviously it was just like life skills, like even because my balance is affected because of limited core strength, so like even just like picking up a ball and being able to throw it again, things like that, like were things that we would work on, and to look back at that now and to think I couldn't even sit up by myself is just like to think about that and see how far I've come since then, that it does make me proud, like to think I've come so far.
Wheelchair basketball, how did you first become aware of that? Were you aware of it in any detail before your accident? When did anyone suggest that to you, going through rehab?
Not aware of it at all. Before my accident, I was quite naive to like disability sport. I didn't know anybody else that was in a chair or even had a disability, I don't think. So yeah, really naive to that kind of whole side of life, and it's really opened my eyes now to a completely different side of life. So I was first kind of introduced to it in hospital. There was like a sports hall in the hospital that I was at back in the UK, in Pinderfields, which was in Wakefield, luckily. So yeah, I used the sports hall there and kind of picked up my first ball, and I couldn't even go close to reaching the net because like I was so weak and I'd lost so much weight and I'd just not done anything, like no training or even lifted anything, you know. It was remotely heavy, so to try throw a ball was just pathetic. And I think that sort of was quite difficult for me, going from someone who was so sporty and like who stood out as a sports person and was always wanting to be the best person in the team, to then go to someone that couldn't throw a ball. You know, that was something that I really struggled with, and I think that's what's helped me compete at the highest level, because I've been so driven to get back to the standard that I was playing at. Yeah,
and before we just talk more about the wheelchair basketball side of things, you just mentioned there kind of before the accident you didn't know anyone with a disability. So how was it sport that kind of got you to meet other people in a similar situation? Is there a social sort of network scene out there for athletes or non-athletes with disabilities, so you can talk to each other?
Yeah, well, I think there is. Yeah, I think you, as you go through the hospital rehab process, you meet so many people who are in similar situations to you. Like, I went into like a specialist spinal unit, so everybody in that ward had a spinal cord injury, and I know every single person is so different because it affects your body like so differently, but you've got that bond with those people, and you know, I gained so much from learning from other people who had been there and who'd been in chairs for 5 years, or even from people who had had their accident at the same time as me. You know, you can learn a lot and gain a lot. Like it's nice knowing someone's going through the same sort of thing as you, and you can help each other through it.
Yeah, and you recently went back to the hospital that saved your life, didn't you?
I did, yes.
How was that?
Yeah, emotional, to say the least. Yeah, it just gives me goosebumps. Like even now, like the people there, just I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I'm eternally grateful for what they did, and they're just amazing surgeons there. And
were they all there? Same.
Yeah. So I met like the guy who, I didn't even know this, but who first initially like assessed the situation. And obviously I'd never seen him before, but he was the first guy who saw me, who decided what to do, and I was like straight obviously in the lift or elevator straight to the operating room because I was internally bleeding and stuff, so they needed to get me there ASAP. So
talking about kind of the gap between your accident and going back to see the guys that saved your life, how have you been able to progress so rapidly through the player pathway and now represent the GB Coyotes?
Well, I first started playing basketball in September 2011 for Leeds Spiders, so local team. And to be honest, when I first played, I just hated it because I was so terrible. Like I couldn't dribble, I couldn't even catch the ball, I was so uncomfortable in a chair because everything was just so new. And like as a 16-year-old at that, or 17-year-old at that point, like you don't expect to have to learn such a thing, like you know, that's so new to you. So yeah, I really struggled with it to begin with, but obviously the mentality that I have of just persevering and like I'm so determined to achieve, that made me continue. So yeah, I played for them for a year, was involved in various things like junior league, and obviously I played in what was their Division 3 team at the time. And obviously a lot of people come to the games, your name kind of gets spoken about, like, oh, there's a new player, and oh, she's a one-pointer and things. And I think I got scouted, I guess, like at a junior league, and I was asked to go to one of the women's like development camps. So that was in the Easter of 2012. And went there, had a great time, like learnt so much that camp. Didn't really think much of it, like didn't think I'd even have a chance at being invited to like one of the actual women's camps. But I did after obviously the London Paralympics. I got invited to be part of the team, to go to their camps, and at this point it was like once a month or once every 2 months. You know, we didn't have this centralised programme that we've got here now at Worcester. So yeah, and got to know the team, fitted in quite well, I hope. And then in the June of 2013 I was selected to represent Great Britain for the Europeans, so that was my first international tournament and we got a bronze medal. So
how was that, reflecting back on that, what was that experience like?
It was like an amazing experience for me. So obviously even before my accident I'd never experienced playing internationally, and I would have never thought I'd have been able to compete internationally any sport. You know, I loved sport, but playing at that level was just an insanely far away dream for me. So to actually look back at that and think, wow, like I've represented my country and no one can take that away from you. That's a really great feeling, and I know that from now I'll just continue to progress, because there was 2 new players in the team, and so I mean I didn't get an amazing amount of court time because there's so many much better players, and obviously they're going to play them to win the bronze, you know. But to experience the atmosphere there and experience a couple of minutes here and there on court was great, and I know I can take that now hopefully to the World Championships in June if I'm selected. And obviously I'm wanting to increase my court time and be more of a viable player. And
you've mentioned a few other tournaments there, but what are some of the experiences that stand out, some of the trips you've been on as part of the GB set already that stand out for you?
Well, it would have to be the Europeans, because I came away with a bronze medal. After the Europeans, we played in the under-25 Europeans, and I think that was a really good tournament for me, because I got a lot more court time, because obviously it's under-25s, and that's the up-and-coming team, you know, that's the future team, and to get a really good taste of what that is like and what that's going to be like for the up-and-coming years. You know, that was a really great tournament, and you know, I played more of the role that I'm hoping to play in the seniors team in that under-25 setup. So that was a great tournament as well for me.
You just mentioned you were a one-pointer. Can you just briefly explain what that means and how that relates to the team on the floor?
Yeah, so you can have 14 points on court at a time. And so I play a 1-pointer, which is the lowest points that you can have. It goes up to 4.5, which is someone who's maybe just got an amputation or has had knee surgery or something, just like a minimal disability. So yeah, and then it ranges in between, so you can have, it goes up in 0.5s, so you can have like a 1.5, then a 2, then a 2.5, etc. But like, say if you were to play, obviously you can't play for like in a Paralympics, but like in the league, you'd be a 5-pointer because you're like completely able-bodied. Yeah, and obviously you can only have the 14 points on court, so it's crucial to have those low pointers that are strong, so that then you can play a few more like of the high pointers.
So if you're going to waste 5 points on me, that better be good.
So, yeah, exactly.
That's the pressure.
Yeah.
So obviously Rio 2016 is what everything's building towards at the moment. But before then, you've got next week you're off to Switzerland. Can you just talk a little bit about that while you're going over there?
Yeah, there's a tournament that runs every year, and I think GB have been involved in it for a couple of years now. It was actually my first tournament with GB last year, so it's quite sentimental. And I'm really happy that I've been selected again. And it's Euro Cup, which basically is all the best league teams from different European countries come together and play against each other. So then, therefore, you have the finals, and then you have the best team in Europe, pretty much. So yeah, it's a great tournament for the girls to play in, because we're playing against such strong male teams. And when we can compete against them, and we can play like our offense against them, you know, and go up against such strong defence, then when playing against the international women's team that we will be playing against, you know, it's not going to be as strong, or it's going to be equally as strong. So it's really good for us to get that sort of experience playing against such strong teams.
And what's the aim for next week in terms of results?
I think maybe to win one, maybe.
So it's more about the experience.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And just because we're experiencing so much that's new as a team, I think to be able to put that on the floor and to play a couple of games over the weekend, and just build our confidence and get that experience, yeah.
So in terms of the team as it's constructed now, is it, obviously you're saying it's quite a young team, a lot of new players. Who's sort of the elder statesman of the team? Who's the guiding force? Is it coach, or are there some players that you kind of the newer guys look up to?
I think, well, personally, obviously I think I look up to people who are like a similar classification to me. So someone like Claire Strange, I can learn so much from her, because she's been through it, and she started like pretty much in the exact same position as I was, and she's had all the different chairs, and she's tried all the different techniques, and I can learn a lot from someone like her. But I think like you can learn a lot from anyone, even the new players coming in. They bring so many new things to the squad, that even the older players can learn things from us new guys.
So obviously the Euro Cup, it's all about the experience. But looking forward to Rio, what are the kind of ambitions for that? Is it to medal? Is it to improve on London 2012 as a squad? How competitive is wheelchair basketball on the women's side internationally?
Oh, I think it's massively competitive. I think there's so many teams that are up there that are fighting for that medal position, and we are definitely one of those teams. With our new coach Miles and the new setup that we've got here at Worcester, I think we've got such a good chance to medal. in Rio, and I'd love to be a part of that. That is obviously my ambition, that's my goal, is to be selected to go there. And yeah, as a team, I think we have massive potential to get a medal.
Is it quite competitive in the squad with players going up against each other in training? Is it an atmosphere that obviously you're going against each other, so you're both improving one-on-one? Is it that sort of atmosphere in training camp when you're on the court?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, because there's 4 people going for my spot really, and it might be that they'll take 2 1-pointers, but they might only take 1. So yeah, and the more you fight for that space, that spot, you know, the more the other person's going to fight for it, and that's constantly making each person better, and that's always going to make the team better. So the more fight that we all bring to each training session, and the more aggression and the more intensity that we put into those training sessions, the better we're just going to get as a team.
So obviously we're at Worcester University, the University Arena. What brought you here? Because you're studying at the university as well.
Yeah. So I came here because I heard obviously that they were planning on having this as the base for basketball, and to centralise here, and for this to be where all the training takes place. So I'm glad that they actually did choose here, because I'd applied here and accepted already. So I didn't really have a choice if they then decided to be somewhere else. But yeah, so it's a great place, and the arena's fantastic, and it's such a great place for us to train. The facilities here are they're improving all the time, and I think us as a team, that can benefit us so much.
I heard the staff are pretty good as well.
Oh yeah, they're all right.
And there's the University Championships on Sunday as well, the first ever one here. There's a few teams coming down. How big a step do you think that is if we could get wheelchair basketball as a books recognised event and get more kind of people in higher education playing? How beneficial would that be to the system as well? Yeah,
I think that's massive, and I think it's an amazing thing that we've got this championships on Sunday, because I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger from now on, and that's in place, and more teams are going to want to play, more teams are going to want to be involved, because as soon as you play wheelchair basketball, you just want to carry on and you just want to get better. And it's exciting for able-bodied players to play it as well, because it's something different, and it's so difficult for them, because having to push and dribble at the same time, you know, that's a challenge for a lot of people.
I don't want to put the pressure on, but you are the favourite team. So are you going to win?
Yeah, we better do. No pressure or anything, but...
Absolutely. What I was going to speak to you kind of about now is, how is day-to-day life in Worcester? How do you find it getting around? Because obviously University Arena built with an all-access purpose in mind, so like you said, brilliant facility here, but what's kind of Worcester like compared to Leeds maybe? How have you found getting around?
Yeah, well, to be honest, Leeds is a great city, but the high street is on a hill. So when you've got loads of shopping bags, that's a nightmare. So Worcester's better in that sense, although the shops might not be better.
There's no high street.
Not as good shops, but the high street's flat, so that's important. And the uni itself, like, that's great. Like, some of the things that, like, Worcester have thought of, I wouldn't have even like told someone to think of, like, about accessibility.
Such as what? Can you give me an example?
Like, even just like automatic doors, because like I wouldn't have even said that I needed that, you know, and like I don't, but that's a big thing, like just to have the door automatically open for you. That really helps people in chairs, especially if you're carrying your laptop or you've got a coffee or something, you know, like that helps. And so it's things like that the uni have obviously thought of that helps massively.
And how did you survive the floods?
Oh, I just stayed in my flat. And then obviously we were trying to get this booked, and we didn't know if this was going to be closed or open, or if we could even get here. So I ended up training that week at St John's, but obviously limited training, and then we were meant to have a camp as well for the whole week, and that ended up being moved. Thankfully we got loads of court time down at Stoke Mandeville, which was great that we could set that up so quickly. So yeah, the camp went ahead, but yeah, the flood's a bit of a nightmare.
And did you think you were going to move somewhere from Leeds that rains more?
No, I thought Leeds was bad enough. It doesn't stop raining here.
Yeah, didn't tell me that, mate.
No.
Rainy 365 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I want to talk about kind of you on social media / media in general.
Okay.
Because you're somewhat of a role model these days, whether you kind of see yourself as or not. You're obviously at the stage now where you're actually inspiring people. Your story is getting people active who are in chairs, getting them out there playing sport. How does that make you feel? That must be incredible.
Yeah, that is like, that is, to me, is just not really believable that that happens, but like I'm sure it does, because I know I was inspired by so many people who were just like newly injured as well, you know. So yeah, for me to have like an impact on someone else, I think that's what I want to do, you know. I want to be able to help other people who are going through like a traumatic time in their life, because I've kind of been there, you know, and I've pulled through it, and like I'm achieving still in my life. Like, just because you have an injury or something happens in your life that is difficult doesn't mean you still can't succeed, and hopefully I'm just proving that you can still do that.
And have you noticed an increased kind of media attention, not maybe just for yourself but for the team as well, in the last couple of years for wheelchair sports, particularly basketball?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, since the Paralympics in London, like it was just like a massive boom of like media attention around the Paralympics, because the Olympics was just amazing, and then everyone was just on a high, and that just carried through right to the Paralympics. So everyone just wanted more, and they just enjoyed the Paralympics just as they would enjoy the Olympics. So I think that created a massive buzz around Paralympic sport, and people respected the athletes, not just, oh yeah, they're disabled and oh yeah, they can take part in sport. They were like, nah, they're athletes, you know.
Legit
yeah,
sport
exactly. So yeah, it was great, the Paralympics, for that.
Do you, you obviously got a Twitter account?
Yes.
Stuff like that. Are you quite active on social media?
Yeah, I am. I do like to promote wheelchair basketball as well, so I'll always tweet about the games and things that we're playing. So yeah, I do like Twitter.
What I want to know is, I know you just kind of touched upon it there, but if you had any advice maybe to give to anyone who was going through a change in their life, maybe as a result of injury, kind of what kind of general steps did you go through that people can kind of work their way towards? Because there is obviously light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh,
what
yeah.
What helped you? How would you kind of advise someone?
I think you need to just get your head sorted out first before you think about competing or taking part in any sport. And my family and my friends really helped me with that. So if you've got a good support network around you, I think utilise that as much as you can. Because I know that I pushed my parents away because I was just like, no, I want to be independent, like I don't want your help. But you actually need to accept help sometimes. So that would be something I would say to someone going through a similar thing, is to accept the help when people offer it to you, because you know, a few years down the line you might regret not having that support around you. And apart from that, just don't let it like bring you down, don't let it change you as a person. Be strong and be positive about it, because it doesn't have to change your life, it can enhance it, like I feel it has with mine. And
finally, what kind of pieces of advice, or how would you want people to react or to think, kind of to help not just you but wheelchair users in general? What things do people not think about that could really help you out, kind of just day-to-day stuff, if there's anything that kind of...
Oh, I don't know. Maybe like something stupid like holding the door open.
Yeah.
If I'm behind, don't just shut the door in my face. Or people do this all the time, like they think that I'm like much bigger than I actually am, like because I'm in a chair, they assume that they assume that like I need like a lorry size like gap to get through, so people will just like jump out the way and they're like, oh my god, she's in a chair, you know, I need to move like miles away from her. No, like it's just a normal like size. It's not big.
See, I knew there'd be something.
Yeah, there. So that's like my pet hate.